It is the third day of September, the year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to The Conversation. This is Richard Mwenja Exclusive, your go-to point on matters political and governance analysis here in Kenya and across the region. And first things first, allow me to introduce the gentleman who's going to help me bring the day's conversation home. Is none other than this renowned firebrand from Trans Nzoia County and former minister, Honorable Kipruto Arap Kiro. Today looking youthful in this leather jacket, a typical Gen Z, right?
Oh yes, I got from a friend imported from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Addis Ababa?
Yeah, somebody brought it for me.
Buy Kenya, build Kenya. Why don't you read from that script?
Buy Africa, build Africa. I believe I'm more of an African than a Kenyan.
Perhaps why I'm advising you to join Raila Odinga in the AUC bid. He might give you a job once he clinches the seat. Don't you want that?
I just want to pray for him to get the job. Once he gets the job, I will approach him quietly. Because I think the most important thing is for us to realize this is a position not for Raila alone. We've tried it. This is the second time we are trying. And the IS, as you know, has been the one of Erastus Mwenja as the vice chairman of AU Commission. Since independence and since the formation of AU, no Kenyan has reached that particular position. Remember Tanzania, they have had their share, and many other countries within the Horn of Africa, they have enjoyed that particular privilege. So my prayer for Raila Odinga is for him to clinch that job. And my prayer again is for Kenya to be more strategic in approaching the whole issue. As I've said before, this job of AU has three dimensions. One is the language challenge, where we are pitted against those from French-speaking countries. And Africa, the French-speaking countries, usually, they have some kind of internal culture which is unique to them. And they are likely to vote for the man from Djibouti, Yusuf. Number two is the question of religion. And as you know, religion is a very deep-seated issue in the world, for mankind. The candidate that we are likely to face as a very strong opponent is the same guy from Djibouti, because he's a Muslim, and Raila is a Christian, and Kenya we are perceived to be more of Christian than to be Muslim. The third issue, perhaps that is more important, is that it is not about Raila the person. Should he lose that position, it's not Raila who has lost. It is about our positioning in terms of geopolitics of the Horn of Africa and the rest of the world. We've been making some goofs, including condemning Hamas and siding with Israel. We've been including appointing ambassador to Hargeisa within the Republic of Somalia, including issues of condemning Sahrawi. So some of the friends of those countries may not see us sitting very well in terms of politics of Africa. And more important also is that there are some external factors. What is the position of UK? What is the position of America? What is the position of France? Because these are the P5, the permanent five in the United Nations. And they are very important in a way. The other day you realize the countries that associate with Islam, Islamic, the Convention of Islamic countries, said they were going to support Yusuf from Djibouti. And finally, which I always don't like, I'm not an ageist, the young man from Djibouti is 10 years younger than me. And he's been a minister for foreign affairs for such a long time. Even when I was IGAD special envoy to Somalia, peace and national reconciliation, he was a minister. And that's over 15 years ago. So in terms of the name recognition, Raila may be slightly above him. But in terms of networking, we need to rethink our strategy. Somebody like the Speaker of National Assembly, the Honorable Moses Wetangula, should be a factor in those who are supposed to approach this, because they were colleagues with Yusuf and Sam Kutesa of Uganda, the late Mesfin of Ethiopia, and several other people. He can also marshal the network that he has as minister. These are things that we should think about soberly. Otherwise, we may expose Raila to another loss. That's my worry.
So should we not be careful? The ghosts from the past could come back and haunt us.
They are likely to. And remember the way we are perceived in the Horn of Africa, and even in the rest of the continent, we are seen to be the big brother, a bully of a kind. So we must, if it was somebody from Tanzania, the issue of religion would not have arisen, because Tanzania is seen to be neutral when it comes to religion. But we in Kenya, we have professed Christianity to the extent that we don't seem to realize we are not a Christian government or a Christian nation. We are a nation with Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and others. We are a nation within the context of the nations as in terms of religion. But we've almost made Kenya look like we are a Christian government. And it is not a Christian government, it is a government comprising Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and others.
Very well.
Yeah.
Moving on swiftly, and still on those corridors,
Yes.
as we speak, His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga is accompanying President Ruto in Beijing for the China-Africa Summit. And Raila Odinga is expected to advance his AUC bid there, meet African presidents from the other side.
Yeah.
Let's begin on one end of it. When it comes to President Ruto, is he now bringing on board the picture that he is now the best Samaritan for Raila Odinga on his case to clinch the AUC bid, by literally even taking him on those international trips and literally being his biggest campaigner?
It will be more appeal to the gallery. Why am I saying it's more of appeal to the gallery? Immediately launched Raila in town. He went to Nyanza for 3 days, making maximum political capital personally, instead of allowing first Raila to win, so that now he can negotiate with him about the possibility of him supporting him in the next election. So at times the way you display your level of excitement betrays the intentions that you may have. The president may have the best of intentions, but the way it comes out, it's like he wants Raila out of town or out of the country so that he can inherit his constituency. That is the reading that many people have. You may have differently, or I may have differently, but that's the reality. When you are doing political analysis, you cannot ignore certain optics. The second optic, there were two former presidents, Jakaya Kikwete of Tanzania, and Olusegun Obasanjo, who has been fronting Raila for the longest time as possible. But our own former president was not there. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has more friends in Africa than President Ruto. He has interacted for 10 years with those presidents. He has interacted with 10 years with those opinion shapers of Africa. And therefore, we should be able to galvanize his goodwill for purposes of winning the trust of others. You know, in issues of international relations, there is what we call trust deficit. At times I vote for you, not because I trust you, but I mistrust your opponent.
Okay, okay.
So it is something that people should be able to know.
Choosing the lesser devil.
Yeah, the lesser devil. That's the whole thing. So going to China with Raila is good. It may win 1 or 2 souls, but we must be strategic. We cannot afford to ignore President Uhuru Kenyatta and expect to win this thing clean. Remember, one of the rules in terms of the election process is that you must garner over 2/3 of all members who are not suspended, all eligible members. Even if you are the only candidate and you don't get 2/3,
That is it.
you have lost it. Yeah, you will go for another round and you are ignored for another 6 months. Then you can revive your candidature for that particular purpose. So my take would have been, if I was allowed to think through, and it is always good to tell people the way you think, it would have been to approach President Omar Gele of Djibouti, talk to him, persuade the young man who was born 1965 to go for a position less than that of the chair of commission. Perhaps a position like commissioner for peace and security would suffice for the time being. And perhaps even negotiate Raila to go for 1 term or 4 years. Then after the 4 years, he retires. You know, these are some things that are practical. Then you tell Yusuf, okay, go for commissioner, peace and security. Then after that, Raila retires after 4 years. And he becomes elder statesman in Africa. Then that guy is elevated. And perhaps I can also apply to go there as a commissioner for peace and security at the AU to replace the position of Raila. You know, these are deals that we can do.
But
and
it is because not of beyond the trust deficit, perhaps, so you are not striking such a deal.
Because nobody trusts us that we can also keep a deal. Haven't you realized many things that are happening in this town?
Even at a time when we are profiling ourselves as the Singapore of Africa, you mean they are not anxious or craving to have our association?
Singapore for Africa, one thing that makes us out of it is that we are connish. We are thieves.
You can't say that. You need to be a patriot at least.
A patriot to pretend? You know, I can be a patriot, but you see, you cannot pretend about reality. Reality is different from the ideal that should be there. The ideal we should be Singapore of Africa. But the reality is that we are stealing money every day. So reality is that we are lying to the people of Kenya themselves, including saying there are no abductions in the political rally. And yet their families crying. They have not seen their children. They have not seen their family members. Really, aren't we lying?
So lying is our second name as a country?
Yeah, we are a country of liars. You see, the other day I was somewhere in Makueni.
Sure.
And there was some Tanzanian who was trying to buy a piece of meat. So the scales were sort of mixed up. Then he said, hii ni wa Kenya. You know, it was something in passing. But I was amused because they seem to think that we can con even on a piece of meat. So, you know, these are some small indications that we have to improve. We have to up our game. Otherwise, we run the risk of being isolated in the rest of the continent, starting with our neighbors, Tanzania, Uganda. Remember the G2G, gangster to gangster arrangement of fuel? Uganda was almost opting out, almost to get their oil through Tanzania. So these are some of the indications that if I don't trust you on daily basis, on the day of election, you cannot tell me you have changed. You remember the cartoon that they have been displaying in some of the papers, somebody saying in a campaign rally, telling the sheep and goats that if you elect me, I'll become a vegetarian.
And it's a wolf saying that.
It's a wolf, yeah. So this is what is happening in Kenya. Let's not pretend.
A country of Ananias and Sapphira.
Oh, a lot of it, and conmen.
Very last
and traitors and Sakayos.
In the interest of time, before we close this conversation, you are mentioning, or rather, making your opinion that the president is capitalizing on the political fodder of the day, which is AUC bid, to make mileage in Raila's backyard. Does that inform why on this show you've gone on record many times saying President Ruto is always looking for a monster to fight?
Yeah. He is looking for a monster, and he tells, he invests for anything that he invests. He must ask, what is in it for me? So for him to support Raila, what is in it for him? And what is in it for him is to inherit his backyard. That's the way it is.
Nothing to do with uniting Kenya as one front?
Unity for election? Or is it genuine unity? If it's genuine unity, why has he been vilifying the former president? Why has he been vilifying? You saw even the footage that was coming from Nyanza. The deputy president team, they are reporting minus the president. The president's team, they are reporting, editing out the deputy president. You know, and you are talking of national unity. If you don't trust your own deputy, and your own deputy doesn't trust you, national unity for what? You know, unity is not an ideal that should be accepted. It should be honest, inclusivity. Because unity, you can just unite as gangs, a group of gangs, to invade a homestead and steal the money and all the cows. So unity for me is not an ideal that we should respect. It is unity, it must be unity for There must be some purpose for that unity. That's the only time I will respect. Yep.
And in the event that Raila Odinga loses the African Union Commission chairperson bid, what next could lie for him in the world of politics? Or you would say that then his political obituary will have been published and been out there in the public to read?
No, Raila is capable of reincarnation. That I know.
Even with the age factor?
Age factor notwithstanding, Abdullahi was elected at the age of 81. Raila can be elected at the age of 83. Nothing will stop him. The only thing is that I pray for him to win that seat. That I'm more passionate about that than about him coming back to fight our local politics. But you cannot ignore him. Should he come back? In fact, those who like him and those who don't like him should never make their last statement until February next year. Should he win, then now we start rewriting the history of Kenya without Raila being on the scene. But should he not win, don't write him off.
And do you think for President William Ruto, his biggest nightmare right now is Raila Odinga losing that seat? Because maybe that will portend more danger or doom for him when it comes to 27 politics.
Well, I think for him, he has enjoyed the bit. Because you see, after the GNC almost kept him in the country, he has had a chance now to go to Nyanza, enjoy a bit of popularity, and that's why he has gone to China. You remember he never went away for almost 2 months.
Yeah, sure.
It has given him some temporary relief. And the painkiller is better than the medicine if it can give you whatever you
But it is not sustainable.
It's not sustainable, but you see, for him, he lives each day at that time. He's more practical than many of us. He's not bothered about 2032. 2027, once he wins, you can do other things.
He slays each giant that comes on the way.
Oh yes, that's his style, and I think he's more practical than some of us. Some of us, at times, we are nostalgic. At times, we are so forgiving. At times, we are so worrying about the things that may never happen. For him, he deals with the issue once it erupts. Yep.
The biggest mistake that many have, for those of you in Azimio, is that, especially DAP Kenya, you play Mark Timing style of politics, waiting for the opportune time to jump into the ship. Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, and that cohort of core principles of Azimio.
I think we are we are rethinking the process. For me, the advice I can give to my colleagues and friends is that Azimio is dead.
Is it?
Let the carcass not fall on you. Let's move on. Look for another outfit into another formation, either as a coalition, or we collapse these small parties and we form an entity that will have more than 8 MPs. Then we go for the next election clear on the mandate we want to give to the people of Kenya.
Azimio, one profiled as the Titanic of latter day, is sinking already?
Well, it is a dinosaur. Yeah. And finally, we can also form, perhaps, upon moving into a bigger outfit, form a shadow cabinet that will be dealing with specific issues, so that all the issues raised by the young men and women of Kenya 2 months ago, we are able to address them in our policy pronouncement.
Very well.
That's a better way of looking at it.
Rightly put there, sir. Well, it is at that point that we take this conversation to a wrap, talking a raft of issues in the world of politics and governance, starting with Raila Odinga's campaign for the AUC bid, and also the alignments and realignments within Kenya Kwanza side, the opposition side, and also as a country, how we are positioning ourselves to be that Singapore of Africa, and also to clinch this seat that we all desire to have it come home, and among many other issues that we've delved into on this particular edition. How about now I take you to this insightful and informative segment, that is Heroes Corner with Honorable Ruto Arap Kirwa.
Yep.
Our gentleman, today on this segment, who is our hero or heroine for the day?
Well, our heroine today is the mother of Africa.
Oh, yeah, really?
The mother Africa, yeah. The lady who is always optimistic that when people come for elections, they mean well. And they hope the next set of politicians that come to town will be better than the previous ones. The mother of Africa, when given 50 shillings, she thinks this is the person who is going to change her life. and therefore next Christmas will be better than last one. The mother of Africa who, when she meets politicians singing together, dancing, he thinks the world is happy. When they see Rigathi, Raila and Ruto being together in one platform, she thinks everything is well. When they hear Adani is coming to town to improve the airport, she doesn't know that for every $1 that gets to Africa, $7 leave from the same transaction. The mother of Africa, when there is blackout, she doesn't know that is a mega blackout, that many things are being transported. And in the morning at 7 o'clock, electricity comes back. The mother Africa, who believes that the child will get school fees because there is a new regime, only to realize there are separate bursaries given by MCA, MP, governor, the national government, and the institution that the child may be going to. That is the mother of Africa, who was born 1957 in Ghana, 1963 in Kenya, and in many other countries, and the other day in South Sudan. The mother of Africa is still alive. She's still going. She will not die, but her hope will be sustained by the new spirit of the GNCs. That is my heroine today.
So low of Mother of Africa.
Well, it happens. We've never respected our own people. How can we be stealing from our own country? How can we start a project at the airport that we know that company has destroyed many countries wherever they have gone? Adani has destroyed many projects that were meant to be. How can we do that with a paltry, I don't know, 97 billion that they say they will bring? That money can be gotten from the budget.
So we only left to cry for Mother Africa.
Well, let's cry for her, and she will live, and she will pray, and things might change.
There you have it from Honorable Kipruto Arap Kirwa. That is our Heroes Corner segment for today. Do stay glued to this particular edition for more subsequent editions of that particular segment. And also keep this conversation going beyond here. I'm at Mwenja Richard on X and on TikTok. Find Mheshimiwa on social media platforms. If you can't get him anywhere there, just tune in to those mainstream national televisions. He's always there. Citizen, NTV, you name it, TV47. He's a man of the people. They always want to listen to him. So keep this conversation going beyond here. See you.